So what happens when a former US president gets in a room with some of the most powerful oil executives on the planet? Well, usually we'd never know, but this time we have the transcript. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what was said, right up to the moment the press was asked to leave the room. Let's dive in.
Wow. The meeting kicked off with this really stark declaration. Right from the jump, this set a super high-stakes transactional tone. This wasn't going to be a negotiation about if something would happen. It was a discussion about how it would happen. The easy way or the hard way.
And the first major theme that popped up was just pure geopolitical hardball. The conversation went way beyond oil, really fast. It revealed this broader, pretty aggressive strategy. And what's wild is how the same playbook was applied to two totally different places, Greenland and Venezuela.
Okay, so the discussion started with this incredibly blunt statement about Greenland. According to the transcript, the plan was simple. The US would take it over, and it was framed as something that just had to be done, with or without their consent.
And here's where you really see the strategy click into place. The transcript shows the exact same reason was used for both Greenland and Venezuela. The idea was to get involved to block Russia or China from gaining influence. So this one single justification was the foundation for two massive and very different foreign policy moves.
Now, that whole geopolitical framing of Venezuela, it wasn't just talk. It led right into the core proposal of the summit, a really detailed plan for a huge oil deal, complete with a very specific way to handle the money.
This was the big question in the room, right? If you're going to put a deal this massive on the table, everyone, especially the executives, wants to know about the logistics. Where is all that money actually going to go?
And the answer came in this really straightforward three-part formula. It's simple. Step 1, a chunk of the money would be used to take care of Venezuela's needs. Step 2, make sure the oil companies get their investment back plus a profit. And then Step 3, whatever's left over, goes directly to the United States.
Investing in Venezuela comes with some pretty obvious risks, and the execs in that room knew it. So this quote, this was the direct assurance they were looking for. The message was crystal clear. The U.S. government would back the deal, make it as safe as possible, and guarantee a stable, profitable partnership for the long haul.
So who exactly was listening to this proposal? Well, the other side of the table was a who's who of global energy. We're talking about an incredible concentration of power and capital. These were the titans of the industry, and believe me, they had a lot to say.
And this just shows you the scale of the corporate buy-in. I mean, you had Shell talking about their history there all the way back to 1914, saying they're ready to go. Halliburton, a services giant, said they were interested in returning. Trafigura announced their first ship was loading in the next week. And SLB said they already had $700 million of equipment on the ground, ready to scale fast. The commitment in that room was just immense.
And hey, if you want a real sense of the financial firepower in that room, get this. A representative from just one Spanish company casually mentioned this figure, $21 billion. That's how much their company alone had poured into the American oil industry. So after dropping that massive $21 billion number, this quote from Trafigura's guy really captures the mood in the room. It shows this wasn't just about the money, it was about putting their trust in one person to build a system that would actually work and keep all those investments secure.
All right, so the public promises were made, the big picture was laid out. Now it was time for the cameras to go away. The public part of the meeting was over, and the real deal-making was about to start. Behind closed doors.
And this is the exact moment everything shifts. This quote is the signal, the pivot, from a public press event to a private business negotiation. So the big question is, what were they going to talk about once the cameras were off?
Well, the transcript actually lays out the goals for that private meeting pretty clearly. The objectives were, 1, get the companies to invest. 2, figure out how to get their money back fast. 3, talk through the specific confines of a deal. And 4, basically start fresh with a brand new plate.
And really, that brings us to the heart of what this whole transcript shows us. A rare, unfiltered look at that moment where national strategy and corporate interests just become one and the same. And it leaves all of us with a really critical question to think about. What happens when a nation's foreign policy is explicitly framed, negotiated, and executed just like a business deal?